Hello everyone. My assigned chapter for this presentation was titled How Management Teams Can Have a Good Fight. Now a little introduction and background on myself. My name is Brad Fair. I live in Winkler, Manitoba, and I work here as a local gas station supervisor. I've never been in workplace management anywhere before. So conflict between people in every context is a natural part of life. This includes observing the management authorities in the workplace. Unfortunately, in our culture, when we use the word argument to describe a conversation, this often will come with a negative connotation. This has led many people in our communities to become offended due to innocent arguments where individuals may disagree or parties may disagree. The same can take place in workplaces, causing unnecessary division and conflict between coworkers due to misunderstandings and miscommunication. In my presentation, I will discuss how conflict can be used positively in the workplace. I will also examine 6 different strategies that CEOs of big organizations can use to develop a culture of effective decision making within the team context. The first strategy that was examined was titled Focus on the Facts. In any argument, it is easy to get wrapped up in our feelings or opinions about the subject being debated. So what is an effective way to move away from pointless debate? Bring the team to an increased pool of data to begin the discussion. This allows the team to move quickly to decide based on evidence. It also removes the risk of making poor decisions based on a subjective feeling or hunch without significant data. The second strategy is to multiply the alternatives. The question we present here, can having multiple options really create less conflict? Similarly to the principle in strategy 1, to increase the amount of clear evidence, strategy 2 encourages an increase in alternative solutions for the issue or conflict at hand. Some executives may decide to decrease the number of possible solutions, thinking less variety results in less possibility of conflict. However, this has not proven to be true. When managers multiply the alternatives, this is beneficial for both the team and the company. Managers can also do this through offering up provocative options which they would never support. This can get a team discussing their thoughts about different choices, no matter how extreme, and articulate the degree they support the range of choices. These decisions can be made by the team more clearly with a lower risk of individuals being personally criticized. Instead, they can see themselves as a team from the beginning, trying to solve the problem and find the best solution. I haven't been in many meetings where big decisions were being made, but one example I can think of about 3 years ago, I was working in marketing for a small agriculture company, and we were trying to decide what advertising we would use to promote our implements. Although we were in a meeting, there were not many alternatives discussed in the meeting, and ownership made the decision of what they wanted to do in the end, leaving any other alternatives raised as basically irrelevant. Moving on, the third strategy is to create common goals. Is this possible in a postmodern world where everyone holds to a different truth? In any team, unity is critical for the success of a team. This requires the team members' interests or goals to be aligned with others. In the business world, this can become a struggle as our culture promotes individualism. This means that employees, including managers, are continually on the performance treadmill in the company. They need to get a positive review for a wage increase, or more status, power, and promotion within the company. This creates an issue in our hearts as people whom the company has brought together to get a job done. But at the same time, we're being encouraged to fight for our own career instead of the good of the organization at large. When management teams are successful, they see themselves as a group collaborating to find solutions for everyone's best interests. To collaborate effectively, the team must share a common vision. When conflict infiltrates the team members will begin to see their coworkers as competition and a threat to their success. I used to work for as an on-air announcer for a radio station. And every week we would get together and share with the team what leads we had on content or stories. It wasn't that these meetings specifically had a purpose to make a big decision, but it did bring us together and bring alignment to what we wanted to accomplish, and that was to be a local community radio station. Our collaboration may not have been on a big scale, but it was still promoting unity in the purpose. Fourth strategy is to use humor. Sometimes when we hear the saying, work hard, play hard, we simply think about getting our job done, so we can go have a good time with our friends on the weekend. But is it possible to have a work hard, play hard culture within the workplace? And if so, what fruit would this create? If I had to guess, I would think it would improve staff morale and relationships between coworkers. This has the potential to relieve stress and tension amongst management team members because they now see each other as someone they can enjoy to be around and have fun with. I personally have experienced this with coworkers in the past. This may result in coworkers even sharing a meal or going for a drink outside of work hours to socialize. Developing these patterns is important since if you neglect the opportunity for social relationships at work, it becomes easier to become tense and hostile with the stressful aspects of the job and unintentionally to react in frustration towards coworkers. It is also true that when you develop a culture of satisfaction in your workplace, people will naturally be more relaxed and willing to listen to other people's ideas for projects. I worked casually for an auto body shop a number of years ago, and the boss was always encouraging to his staff. One way to bring this work hard, play hard culture was he took the staff out for breakfast once a week. I see this similarly promoted in another company that comes to our convenience store and diner on a regular basis. They pay for their employees to eat lunch every workday. This is a company that likes to have fun. The fifth strategy is to balance the power structure. This strategy begins to look at, is the decision-making process fair? Who has the influence in making the decisions on the team? Does every member have an equal voice, or is there someone whose voice outweighs the rest and will dictate the decision no matter what other feedback is given? When a top management team has a balanced power structure, you have a CEO who is ultimately in charge. However, team members wield increased influence in their area of responsibility. Since all team members are influencing different decisions, they are able to accept the decision as fair. When team members have less influence in making decisions, leaders won't feel heard or valued. When this takes place, it is easier to see decisions as impartial or unfair. Like I mentioned in my earlier example, the way things seemed to be set up when I was working in marketing was that although I was the marketing lead, my voice really held no weight in making the decisions on where to advertise. Ownership had their connections, and the meeting was just to inform everyone what they had decided to do basically as the same year as last year. Same thing as last year. The final strategy we will examine is seeking consensus with qualification. This strategy is connected to the last strategy of having a balanced power structure. It is always ideal if management teams can make a unanimous decision. However, this is not reality. No matter how much your team is united in values and even goals, members will have different methods on the best way to achieve the goal. So how do teams remain in harmony when they are not like-minded? How can you move past the disagreements? First, they realize that conflict is natural and not necessarily due to dysfunction. It comes back to seeing an argument as constructive rather than an attack. This will limit interpersonal conflict on the team. Second, it connects to being part of the decision process. If team members are equally involved in the decision process and can voice their support or concerns fairly, with extra attention in their area of expertise, they will respect more decisions which are not their ideal choice or that might be outside of their department. So, as a summary, how can leaders promote healthy conflict? One way is to promote a healthy conflict approach in the workplace is to develop team diversity. Now, personally, I have not had a great experience with the diversity and inclusion movement of the workplace. However, I still can see benefit of having diverse range of backgrounds and perspectives on a team. Here is a quote from the chapter concerning diversity. Management teams whose members challenge one another's thinking, develop a more complete understanding of the choices, create a richer range of the options, and ultimately make the kinds of effective decisions necessary in today's competitive environments. This challenging of thinking takes place more naturally in a setting where you have people with different backgrounds rather than a group who have all been raised to think the same way about world issues. As a leader, developing habits like getting together regularly as a team to get to know each other and building relationships can also benefit the team in times of conflict. Another strategy is encouraging team members to consider different positions and even argue for them. Play what we call the devil's advocate. This could even turn into a role play debate where you put yourself into the shoes of someone who thinks differently than you, and ultimately manage the conflict well. This is the key when certain team members don't want to engage in the decision process and would rather go with the flow of the loudest speaking member. This is not actually a sign of agreement, but rather apathy. Now to the conclusion. Does promoting conflict develop inefficiency? Naturally, you would think the answer would be yes, that having arguments and debates would be a waste of time. However, the evidence says otherwise. Where there is little conflict over an issue, the likelihood of poor decisions being made is higher. When teams are encouraged to engage in healthy conflict, better decisions are made because more alternatives are discussed. Low conflict teams often forget to consider key issues or important aspects of the situation. When teams weigh quality alternatives, there may be points of disagreement, but this will help teams move quicker than if the options have no evidence or effectiveness. It also relieves the stress of uncertainty when making anxious decisions with lack of data. Here is a final quote to conclude this point and presentation. Constructive conflict helps teams make high-stakes decisions under considerable uncertainty and move quickly in the face of intense pressure. Now you should receive my handout with notes for the presentation, and I hope this helped you see a greater perspective on limiting unhealthy conflict and promoting positive decision making in the workplace. Thank you for listening.